Welcome to the PARAcast. I'm your boss. Not your boss. I'm your host. I wouldn't ever try to
You're not
boss
my
you around.
boss.
You're not my boss. Me.
You're my dad.
Well, I've not going to be anyone else's dad since July of 2020. Hopefully. Hopefully.
Well, that's reversible.
I got news for you, Tom.
The right one still hurts. I don't know if that's common. Let know in the comments below if your right testicle still hurts after your vasectomy. Join.
Oh, we got the name of the show. The right one hurt after your vasectomy.
Does the right one still hurt? Joining us tonight, he walked away from yesterday's stages as if he saw them making out with his wife. It's Robert Wyatt.
That was. Damn it, I'm over her. I'm over her.
He would shoot, like, out of 4 of the stages, Robert just went, just to prove it, and then walked like 80 yards. No, Yeeman.
Freaking dumpster fire.
He had this stage plan where he was going to shoot a popper and then run forward of the stage, like forward through the stage boundaries, come around into the U, and then shoot the last position. He shoots the popper. He hears a ting. He gets about 6 yards down, looks at the popper is still up, goes OF, has to retreat back with his left-handed gun, so he has to retreat back weirdly, shoot it, knock it down, and then run and continue the plan. Like, that was stage 1.
And how did you not run into the RO?
I told the RO to stay back.
Oh, you're such a nice man.
Yeah, well, prior to that, I broke. Who was it? What was his name? I broke the dude's Leatherman. I broke the dude's Leatherman trying to fix the stupid popper, and thankfully Tyrell had like needle and stuff because it like did that big blood blister thing.
Yeah, so he smashed his
hand.
He pinched his own hand with someone else's Leatherman,
and actually broke the needle nose part of the Leatherman off, doing that.
And so he had a huge blood blister. So then he had to go back, pop his blood blister. Then Tyrell had to patch him together, get him out there and give him a spank on the butt and say, get out of there and go after them, go have a good stage, which he refused to do for most of the day.
It sounds like you should have just stayed home.
I literally wanted to. I was like, I'm going home. No, I can't do that.
I had
second stage. I want to go home. I'm not doing that.
I think I could have talked Robert in. Like, I had a terrible first and second stage. I think I could have talked Robert into lunch. I could have talked him into let's go to lunch. Also joining us, not mentioned in any lawsuits yet, it's Yeeman Lin.
I am but a humble servant of the Empire and an all-around nice guy, I promise.
Keyword yet.
And he likes hunting because he gets to do his 2 favorite things, murder and pooping in public. It's Kenny Terry.
I mean, it's a really nice combination.
So we didn't have Kenny on last week's.
A new visual to teabagging somebody.
Ooh.
Well,
I'm sure his right one doesn't hurt still.
Yeah, well, probably he likes the poo right in front of the deer as their eyes are fading out. They're like, "What am I seeing?" He goes, "Hell, this is hell." We missed Kenny. We missed Kenny last week, so let's get an update of your Utah State match and Open. How did you feel about the stages? How did you feel about the quality of the match, and how did you perform?
Well, I thought the stages were pretty good. I mean, there were some things I didn't like about them, but it's fine. Like, overall, I thought the stages were solid level 2 stages. I thought the match ran very well. I mean, very well. And I probably shot better than I should have. I wasn't happy with it, but I never am really. But I shot better than I should have, considering my preparation.
Yeah, and so you competed in Open this year.
Yeah, I shot another one of Clay's Open guns in Open. And yeah, just short on time and having to shoot brand new brass. I didn't have time to clean brass, and shot 300 rounds Wednesday to make sure the gun was working and everything, and went and gave her hell.
And so, like, you came in, I think, what, 3rd place in Open?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3rd.
And what percentage were you of the overall?
97 something.
So, no preparation.
I think I was 30 points back, something like that.
Yeah. So not a whole lot of preparation, shooting a division. You've kind of shot a little bit in this waning time of your USPSA career, and decided to go in there and shot. And so you still did pretty well.
Yeah, not like first day was freaking garbage. I can't tell you. I just couldn't get it together. I was like shooting scared the first day. So I was pretty pissed off. Robert asked me how I was shooting. I was like, I'll be lucky to place top 5 at this point. Went and had dinner. Sunday, I was like, the hell with it. I'm already losing the match. We're just going to let it rip, tater chip. And I literally gave it 105% every damn stage Sunday.
Did
And
it feel good doing that?
Yeah, so I was actually in second going into the last stage. And I was like, fuck it. We would give her hell on the last 3. We'll do it again on the 4th one. Then I shot a mic and cost me second.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I mean, at that point, you have to give it everything. I mean,
Yeah.
second, I mean, you have to do it, right? I mean, you can't not do it.
Losing's losing. I don't really give a shit second or third. I was losing. So,
Right.
I mean, it was good. I was like 75 points out of first after the first day. And then to lose it by 30, at least hell, it'll come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I think I was sitting in like 6 after the first day. So,
How did you feel about the high-speed swingers?
so that was actually one thing I was very disappointed about. I thought the activators were way too easy this match.
So the activators were easy.
how do you mean? Explain
Like,
that.
Well, so pretty much everything they made an activator then go to whatever the moving target was by putting the poppers in the back. So to me, I felt like that forced people to shoot the activation sequences a very coward way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So to make them easy, I never had bad shots on the activators. They all were easy. Almost every one was shoot activator, go to swinger. Shoot activation, go drop turner. Shoot activator, go to bobber.
Is that because we had hidden a lot of those activators behind another piece of steel? Because that's one of the critiques I actually got from a handful of people, is that by doing that, we talked about this last week, right? By doing that, it kind of like, it just means you have to just sit there and deal with it. You can't time anything out. And that's what Jeremy Reed was saying. You know, like good shooters, they want to be able to time things out. What can I get done while this popper is doing things?
Yeah.
And
yeah, so me, Jeremy, Bob, Charlie, we all talked about it. Like, same thing. Like, it sucks because normally if you have the activator up front, you can give us something to try to gain some ground or possibly hang ourselves. Versus this match, it was like there's nowhere to do. Like, there would be a popper, one target, and then you're activating popper. So you're shooting the popper, shooting this target while waiting to get onto the activating popper.
Right.
And you shoot the activating popper, then you have to go to whatever the moving target is. So which forced all of us to pretty much shoot at the same, gave us nowhere to actually gain anything.
The other thing just brought to mind while sitting here listening to you is that we never had anything like you're talking about. Like, they're all in the back. They're all kind of pretty much by the targets activate. We had nothing that was like an activator up front or an activator to the side or a target that got activated in almost a completely different position of a stage.
Yeah.
So
and this is not an excuse. I'm just saying this is not an excuse. We took the stages that we were given. In the future, though, we'll still get people to submit stages because I think that's fantastic. But now with this information that we have, maybe when they're going through and they're reviewing stages and kind of like figuring that out, some of these ideas that were talked about at this year, we can then take a step back and be like, hey, let's implement this next year and just have that in the back of our head of things to think. Because whenever, like, it was funny because like when I'm sitting there and I'm talking to Jeremy about it, and then even Charlie Perez actually mentioned it today, when they say it, you're like, oh, yeah, that's actually really smart. Why did I never think about it? Just,
so I brought it up the Sunday building stages.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
that's
obviously
that's
it's just hearing from a local guy is a little different. Hearing from out of state big guys maybe make more of an impact.
No, and I wish I was there when you were building stages. But no, it's good stuff to think about that it makes sense when you're told. And I kind of just, it was a failure of imagination to even think
that's just
that
on
it could be an issue.
That's just on the list for next year, because the one thing that just kind of happened with this match is like the stages were good. It ran extremely well. There was only any reshoots, only on like stage 2 because of swinger activation, and that's really because the swinger activators were put on the pole instead of on the counterweight of the swingers. And
the activators, the reason that we had such good results with the activators and they weren't like inconsistent is 100% Taylor Daggs.
Oh yeah,
that mean his invention or the way he built that activation, the activators for that thing, it's just stupidly simple.
Yeah.
tilt the thing up, put it on the knuckle, you're done.
Yeah,
There's none of this like, balance it, put the blue mark on the blue mark and the white on the white. It's just, here it is, put it there, you're done.
Yep. Yeah. And then it's actually as a set staked in pivot point, and instead of having it someplace that can drag off or whatever. We ended up shooting those kind of the same stages yesterday. Now instead without IPSC targets, but with USPSA targets, put on those same activation sequences because, it's a big match and we leave half of the stages up for this week, and so we just kind of move targets around and shoot them. One of the things I thought was pretty funny is that the speed of those swingers was still incredibly fast. And on stage 2, when you hang the USPSA targets instead of the IPSC targets, and the sticks are a little longer, we had some of them, when they released, would bounce off the ground and then come in there, and like the sticks were shaking a bit, like because, much higher leverage. But yeah, they were some of the fastest swingers I think I have seen in a long, long time in a level 2 match, and then of course this Saturday at a level 1. So,
which one was stage 2?
Stage 2 was
Stage 2 was the one that John Thalen built. It was the one basically you stepped into the shooting position and immediately whacked a target to the left and ran all the way back.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was one of them that I would have loved somewhere in there to gain something, but I think everybody on our squad shot that activation sequence the exact same.
I agree.
Yep.
And
to be honest, that's a very small critique of the match. Like the match ran, Gary's got to be happy. The match ran amazing. That's my only critique is activation sequences.
The one thing about the activation sequences is that I think just looking at other people who are in other squads like Leo's videos and stuff like that, is that I think people got caught into the squad groupthink of how to shoot stages.
Yeah.
Like I think
it always happens.
Yeah. So we
definitely.
And so I saw some all of our people in our squad. It's just me and Kevin sat there. We thought of a plan. We talked it over with the Secret Service. That's a true story. And then we went out there. We went out there.
That's why Tommy's suddenly like, I need to make sure to register this SBR.
Everything's legal. Everything's legal, sir. This is not Bolivian currency. This is real United States currency. Please do not throw me in jail. But yeah, so you'd come in with the group thing. So speaking about the anything else you want to add about the
well, I have a question. So you said they slightly changed the stages and you reshot them for the first Slipstone match, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys ever wish they'd leave them the exact same?
Absolutely.
Yes.
God damn it! I have asked for that for so many years because during match I always have 2 ways of shooting them. I was like, I want to try the next way the next weekend and see which one was actually better.
Yeah, that's actually what I did on a couple of the stages. I ran it the way that John and I were thinking about it. I had a shitty match, but I was trying to do it differently. So we had that one stage, Tommy, where everybody, it was start anywhere touching the barrel.
Yeah.
And everybody started, and I was like, well, I'm just going to start all the way down range. This was in the cemetery. And so I started all the way down range and I shot it and I just retrograded the stage all the way back. It helps that I'm left-handed.
Yeah.
But it's fun just to do it that way.
The only knock I would have against doing that is, of course, the competitive equity thing. So we all feel it's a competitive equity thing if you have half of the state match before the state match. That is not good for people who are coming in. And the same thing of following the rules is for a level 1 is that the people who shot the state match would have the competitive advantage over the people who hadn't shot the match.
I don't think that really matters that much for a level 1.
It doesn't. Well, you don't think it matters too much for a level 1 because you shoot every level 1 and you shoot every match. But if somebody's coming in, they're sitting there and they're trying to test themselves. I mean, there is an advantage that can be there. And even though it's the home game of Monopoly, it's probably best not to cheat at Monopoly.
Honestly, Tom, I think it's go ahead, Kenny.
Do you think a reshoot's the same thing then?
Thank you. Exactly.
Yes, I think a reshoot's in there, but the reshoot's in the rule book. Listen. This is a 5% devil's advocate making conversation on a podcast with my friends. Now, if they have a vote and they say we get to shoot tomorrow, and there's a new kid who just moved to the state on Tuesday, I'm like, F you, bro. We're reshooting this thing. Line them up.
Well, let's be honest. If he's a new person to the state, then we don't care about him anyway.
Beat it.
Just
Yeah.
say, you don't belong here. Go to the introduction match.
So, anyways, I saw some of these MP5 magazines from Palmetto had them on sale, and so I bought them. And so like I got some MP5 mags parts. So I'm like thinking about making some changes to that thing. Anyway, after 20 months, my
It took 20 months.
well, yes, because I decided to do the hassle-free process of going through Silencer Shop, and they chose Ready Gunner because Ready Gunner had their thing in Orem, and Ready Gunner has a great reputation, and so anyway, I went to Ready Gunner and I did the e-file, the e-forms for the suppressor, and after 10 months, I got denied. I did it through a trust, and it turned out that e-forms had a big mass denial ban on things that weren't supposed to be banned. And so they said, please put it in with your control number again. We'll put it to the front of the line and get you approved. And I talked to the fine people at Ready Gunner, and they're like, absolutely, sir, we'll attach the old control number. And guess who did not attach the old control number? I'm not doing it, so it wasn't me. And so it simply, it stayed in line. It just went to the bottom of the line again. Okay. And so essentially I waited twice the wait for this thing, and then...
All right, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Will I possibly buy another suppressor again? You would have to do a lot of convincing me, like the day after we shoot Utah State again as a level 1, the week after, I will probably buy another suppressor. But I have this SIG 516 rifle. This is a Gen 1. They don't make it anymore. But it had one of the unique things that Robert Hirsch, after designing the HK 416, he went over to SIG and wanted to make a rifle that would take, regular AR-15 parts, but it has a 4-position gas system. And so I was like, I want a 5.56 can for this thing, and it has its little muzzle brake that goes onto the end of it. But this thing has 4 positions, and so I want to play around with those. So it's got your adverse, your normal, your suppressed, and then your off. And so your off turns it into a bolt action rifle, so you get no shell ejection or no action sound. And the suppress setting is very much very, very tame. And so I put it on and shot it yesterday, and it was super soft, and I would say highly annoying to shoot without ears on, but you could do it. And so if you had to torch somebody in your house with it, your ears would be ringing, but it wouldn't be like you shot a 9mm inside the house. So it's pretty nice. I'm pretty happy, and this is a big fat chonker, and so I'm probably not going to keep it by the bed and keep something a little bit more handy,
like the MP5K
and light. Yes. And okay, use something else like that around town. But like I was pretty happy with it. And once you get, like, I was really pissed off for 20 months. Like there'd be months at a time where I wouldn't even think about that I had this thing on order because of how freaking long it damn took. But I am, now that it's here, now that it's on, now that I shot it and it's really quiet and it's really soft, I'm happy enough with it. So
you're going to sell it at the next Slipsa match.
Yeah, I'm gonna get 2 stages. I gotta get 2 stages first, and then I'll flip it. Depends on the offer, Depends on the offer. Robert, let's talk about your shitty match. Go.
Ooh, here we go.
Hey, Kenny, what'd you do this week?
At any point did you think about just turning the gun around, Robert?
By stage 2, I was so thoroughly done. I just wanted to go home. Yeah, I did not want to be there. I didn't sleep at all that night. I came there. I was trying to stay in it, and then I smashed my hand, and that sucked. And then stage 1 sucked, and I went to stage 2, and that sucked. And I was just like, maybe I should listen to Taylor Swift. That makes things better. And then stage 3 sucked, and it just never got better. I don't know. It was just
you just had a massive hangover from all the USPSA drama the day before.
Yeah, I must have, because I don't know. I can't pin it on any one thing. It was just one of those days where I couldn't string a good stage together to save my life.
The problem was Taylor Swift. If you put Parkway Drive in your headphones while you're shooting,
I'm
that's the answer.
actually thinking of calling up who's it, Chris Bain, and seeing if he'll make me the Bluetooth version of those headphones, of the House of Hearing phones.
The one thing you have to think about, because I have those, Robert, is that they don't connect the same way like our AirPods do.
Mm-hmm.
So it works as far as connecting as a speaker, but as a microphone, it actually still uses your iPhone. So
And that's fine. I don't need to be able to talk on it. I just want to be able to drown stuff out.
Well, this is what I don't get. Like, you could put your iPod, whatever your thing's in, and put your headphones over them.
Well, do you wear earmuffs when you shoot, Robert?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Have you thought about that? Just getting the Bluetooth walkers and put them over. So that's what I do. I wear in-ears, and then before I shoot, I put my walkers on, and my walkers are playing music when I shoot.
I could do that.
That way, like, I can barely hear the RO. To be honest, RO's got to talk loudly, but I can't hear. There's no other noise I hear. Just whatever music I'm listening to.
Can you hear it when the timer goes off?
The music?
Yeah, when they hit the. Or do you turn that off?
I listen to music while shooting.
The nice thing about the Walker XLs is that you can change the programming to have the high frequency tone, and so it boosts high frequencies, and so like your steel hits come through a little louder, your beeper time goes off a little louder, and then you can also change it to like a clear voice, so it'll amplify the voice. My only complaint about the Walkers is, one, the microphone feedback they feedback off of each other pretty bad, so you got to kind of watch them. And if you don't have them on your head, you got to kind of make sure you turn them off. And they require a Costco set of AAA batteries in the car, because the regular ones gives me about a month and a half. I mean, my Peltors, like, I changed them like every 2 years. It was like 2 AA batteries every 2 or 3 years. The Walkers might be a couple months. They'll go. But if you leave that Bluetooth on and that bad boy searching and you put them in the range bag, you're like driving a freaking Chevy from 1980 that's getting 4 miles to the gallon. So,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, the battery life's terrible. Listening to music, it's like a day and a half. Batteries are done.
Oh, and we were so close to having Walkers be a sponsor of the PARAcast. Use discount code PARA10.
Robert, I think it's something you should try. So before I gave up on shooting, I was playing with this and like what genre of music would make me act what way, and I get amped up pretty quickly. So I just listening to country soothes me down. If I need to get amped up, a little bit of death metal gets it going for me.
You know what's kind of weird is I feel ashamed if everyone's quiet, because everyone talks so much shit during my Make Ready that I feel like if I told anyone to be quiet or I had to drown him out, I'd be less of a man. It's just like, because the one thing is like Gino was like, this guy can make ready for anything. None of this affects him, and for the most part, it doesn't. But I'm not competing at the highest end that Kenny's doing. But I would honestly, like, you could practice this with just some cheap outer ear muffs that you could throw on, and literally some your ear pods, or like some of the Galaxy pods.
When I go out and practice, which is pretty rare anymore, I actually just take my AirPods and I shove them in, put it on noise canceling mode, throw my what do they call it, the Howard Lights.
Yeah.
And then I just listen to music. My problem yesterday, one among many, at no point could I get out of my head at all. I mean, it was just like the entire day it felt like I was walking around just like in this zombie mode of not wanting to talk to anybody.
It is very much funny how a single mic on a paper target can bring up all other life's problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Robert and I don't know what that's like at all with ADHD.
No. But on the plus side, my daughter, this is totally shooting related. My daughter actually, she does a lot of drawing. She actually went up to the state fair that's going on right now, and they have this thing called a quick draw competition, which is you start at 9 a.m. and you draw, paint, whatever, and you have like 6 hours to do it. She actually won second place, and
nice.
So she won second place, which means she got $75 for winning, and then somebody at the fair actually gave her $200 for the art. So it's not bad.
No, that's fair. That's awesome.
So what you're telling us is that your daughter has made more money drawing pictures than we ever will shooting USPSA.
Dude, you know,
yes.
I literally came home from the match and saw a UPS truck delivering across the street And I go, "Hey, Chris, what's up?" And he goes, "Hey, Tom, what are you doing here?" He's like, "I live right there." And then he's like, "Oh yeah." So I was like, "I just got done shooting a match." And so we like come in the garage and we're like looking at my reloading equipment. And he goes, "Oh, this is awesome." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I was shooting a match." And he goes, "Oh, like what do you win?" And then I had to be just you just feel like a little bitch, and you're just like, I don't win.
Glaring poverty.
I don't win anything. So it's like for like bragging rights, and I'm like, yeah, it's for like bragging rights, and no one
Do you
cares
brag at
either.
all?
And no one cares
No.
about it either. And then so like maybe that should, but that doesn't cause more of an existential crisis in my mind than a mic does on a piece of paper. Like something's wrong with us. Something.
You know what? When you put it that way, all of like the drama and just the shit that goes on in USPSA is like, wow, we're pissed off over something that functionally nobody gives a crap
No,
about.
it is. It is.
That is a sad reality.
Paul in Barrett's book about Glock near the end, he goes, Glock is such a company that is so small. Companies like Microsoft and everything else don't even see them because they're so small. But to us in the gun world, it is one of the largest things ever. And USPSA makes no money for advertisers, barely makes any money for itself. And so it's just
Apparently doesn't even do that.
all it does is hold the best pistol shooters in the world, and it's having a hard time doing that.
That'd be IPSC, and he's in France.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
What, Graffel? That guy? What does he want? Everything always? Oh, okay. All right, you're right. What, every division?
No, I love when people ask me that, Tom. It's like, do you win money? Like, no, we win guns. Like, I won a $600 gun. It may have cost me $2,000 to shoot the match, but I won a $600 gun.
But you go to like these other places. Like I have this guy. He goes to archery tournaments, and like they're basically like the price table's $50,000 of stuff. We gotta wait to a level 2.
Yeah,
and
the only reason for that is because archery hasn't been USPSA'd, right? I mean, like 3-gun. Oh, we have all this chunk until people start shooting, and then they're like, well, what does the sponsors get? Oh, somewhere between Jack and Squat, about the same as what we actually win. Nothing.
I mean,
well,
archery's televised makes a huge difference, and it can be televised because of what it is.
That's true as well. I mean, archery actually, I mean, your average normie person can understand what's going on within like, a minute or two of watching it. Yeah. USPSA, I hate to like break people's like feelings or whatever about this. It's boring as crap unless you're doing it. And even then you can't tell what they're hitting.
It's not just boring. Bring somebody. It's terribly annoying for them to come to a match, and like they don't even know what's going on. Like our spouses would support us to the end of time doing this, but they don't want to watch. Like I don't want to sit here in the sun hearing bang 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 click 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 click. How did you do? Well, I did this, but then I did this, and this is worth this much, and this is basically the equivalent of a quarter-second penalty because I shot 2 Cs and he didn't shoot 2 Cs, but I got 98% of the match points for this, and so it's like, no, it's dumb and it's annoying. The other part is too is like we hand prizes out randomly. Nope, winners. Like other people who do good competitions, they hand the big checks to the winners.
And I'm totally okay with that if we hand out prizes, but the G's, the M's, and the A's get nothing, and then the B, C, and D, they take all of it. Sorry.
No, because if you're like the best guy and they go like, and first place is $5,000 and a Geissele Super Duty rifle, and there's a picture of the really good shooter holding a Geissele Super Duty rifle, it makes people want to do it.
Before he gets in his car to leave the range.
But there's a picture of him holding it. And that's the best shooter in the world, won this rifle, and here's the check.
And then you turn the page over, and it's like, oh, it's that same guy, but he's actually holding the gun that he really shoots.
Correct, but he got
Wait a minute.
But he got presented with the rifle that said, state champion, tier 3 champion, whatever it is, here's the check, here's the rifle, thanks for the picture, goes on the cover.
So there's an argument on both sides here, right? Like
there
Robert's
really is.
Robert's saying give it to the lower class guys because in general they probably need whatever their prize is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and they make the matches run.
At the same time, you should give somebody something. The guys that worked the hardest for it. I didn't make G because I fucking lucked into it.
Right.
I made G because I worked harder than the motherfuckers.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, but
Well,
if
I
I'm,
mean,
So
if I'm
listen,
the,
there's an argument to both sides. You either
oh, I
give it
know,
to the
I know.
guys
There's
working
no
for it or
matter what
guys
you do,
actually
you could argue.
create.
Yeah, Kenny, we could argue this for 3 seasons of the Paracast and never come to an agreement. And honestly, there's gonna be people they're gonna be like, "No, Robert's dumb. He's an idiot." And there'll be people like, "I think that's a great idea." There's no right answer. The real right answer is when they had the prize table at Utah State. Eamon, what did you and I do?
We skipped ourselves.
Yeah,
Well,
because
listen,
I don't give a crap anymore.
I think when it comes to a
Well-
prize table, most G's or M's or A's, they actually like I could give two shits less about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Robert's right. Whatever I get, I'm selling, or giving away
Well-
if it's slow enough costing. But
I mean,
Yeah.
what Area 3 did that I thought was a kind of a balance between the two was that it was random prize. So it was random prize draw. So Scott Arnberg and Joel Park went around to every squad and they basically did random draw, right? Like here's a bucket of golf balls, ping pong balls, and you draw a particular color ping pong ball, you get a prize.
yeah.
But then, Scott was able to take what they received from the match fees and they basically created a cash prize pool. So every division, depending on the level of participation, if you won that division, you basically got a percentage of that prize pool.
Mhm.
Scott, also being a financial person, made it so that the whatever cash prize the winners got overall in the division, it didn't exceed the 1099 limits.
Right. Yeah. If you want to, who is it? Scott and Joel talked about on the, I always forget how to say this, the PTSG podcast. Shooting
Yeah, the
Training Group.
PSTG podcast. Yeah.
And it's really smart. I mean, I listened to it, and Joel kind of talked about his involvement with it, and I have to agree. I mean, they did good. I mean, it's a great way to go.
that's how Rocky Mountain 300 did it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's how they still do it. I haven't shot in a couple years, but yeah, they just give cash out to the winners, and then the prize table is random.
I mean,
Right.
there is an example of a sport that's really boring, but still can bring out a lot of money. That's golf. Like people find an interest in watching golf.
Is exhilarating.
Uh-huh.
Adding-
I think golf is right up there with watching Bob Ross, man. If I need to get to sleep,
Yeah, well, great. Here's the thing.
That's because
Bob Ross and golf still bring in an infinite amount of more viewers, and Bob Ross has been dead for 15 years.
yeah, well, you know what else you see in golf that you don't see in USPSA? You see a lot of thirst traps on Instagram.
Well, yeah, well, like
we don't have that in USPSA because I'm pretty sure that you
no,
can find them.
they're just the Second Amendment. They're not actually USPSA thirst traps. We can't claim everything. The Second Amendment and gut sales are doing well. The USPSA, debatable. Anyways, so somebody filed in the old Papa Joe Rutkowski. He filed a lawsuit recently this week. And so, like, the history of this is the whole Cameo thing, right? That he might have talked to the people of the, what would you say, the legal authorities in Colorado, and was removed for the sport for doing so. And this was the whole Cameo fiasco, and was removed by the US. His membership was removed by USPSA, and so he's decided to sue. I think everybody but you, Eamon, is mentioned in this lawsuit. And yeah. So thoughts,
Wait,
comments, concerns?
This is the same guy that went and shot a major match there a month before, right?
That's correct.
And he
Well,
didn't have a complaint about that, and then he was a little bitch and complained about a match that was interfering with his match. This is that guy, right?
yeah, Team Infinity basically, every
I
once
just
in a
want to
while
make sure it
they
was
want.
the.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure it was
that was
those hypocrites we're dealing with.
That was at the Big Horn in April of 2022.
And so,
Yeah.
like, and so his for doing so, he was allegedly removed. And you guys can pull up his lawsuit. You know, it's out there. It's pretty easily searched and found. So in his lawsuit, he basically claims that USPSA broke their own rules. One thing, they broke their own rules, and then two, so they removed him basically with no real cause of doing it. So
Pretty much.
yeah. So this is like, and I'll play devil's advocate here because I have to. But so this is USPSA 3.3. was it I always hate these frequent applicability of rules. USPSA matches are governed by the applicable rule to the discipline. Host organizations may not enforce local rules except to comply with legislation or legal precedent in the applicable jurisdiction. Any voluntary adopted rules that are not in compliance with these rules must not be applied to USPSA matches without the express right and consent of the president of USPSA. All local rules allowed under these provisions will be documented at USPSA headquarters. 3.3.1 in states where competitors are restricted by law to maximum magazine capacity, that magazine capacity will be the maximum allowed for all competitors in the contest. Any such limitations must be made known to all competitors by the match director or range master before the start of the match. So, as devil's advocate here, USPSA broke their own rules at Cameo doing this, and then Rakowski talks to the legal officials and kind of, I mean, you could say rats everybody out, or comes up with and everything to get the thing tossed, or has other issues with USPSA and decides to ruin the match or do something else like that, or cause USPSA headaches, and then it is removed for it. But like, so my question would be like, why wouldn't USPSA follow its own rules to begin with?
Well, I mean, let's clarify a couple things here first. So, Joe Rakowski, he wasn't terminated; his membership was suspended. That announcement, he was notified of that at the end of October, and it was for a period of 1 year. And suspension, the suspension was that word was used on purpose. So it's the September the 10th. I mean, at the end of October, early November, he automatically goes back in. So he'll be, his membership, unless something changes, will be restored. And then, the specifically with the lawsuit, it's not so much the bylaws itself, because the bylaws for member discipline 3.14 says that USPSA can basically suspend a member with or without cause. It's very open as far as that's concerned. So even from the perspective of whether due process are violent or whatnot, I mean, we are a membership-driven organization, and like any other sport that exists, there's a certain amount of you have to play by the rules, otherwise you're not part of the tribe anymore. I mean, IDPA is very much the same. I think we've known many examples of IDPA folks being disreputed out of the sport for whatever reasons.
Yep.
Now, as far as the rules are concerned, I think it's like a lot of things we talk about in the Second Amendment. Just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should.
Yeah, believe me, like I'm all for the magazine capacity, and I'm all for USPSA competitors having, like, it's a part of the Second Amendment. It's going out there and doing it, but like, I do not like the idea of like having the rules and then having the rules followed, and then the open-endedness of removing people. How open it's definitely, like, in the past year and a half has really shown it and reared its ugly head, because it removes a lot of people that basically don't have any recourse in the sport, and keeps people in there that, like, let's say, might be more temperamental about people's social media posts and getting after them in the middle of a match. And
you're talking about Troy at Nationals this year.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Tommy.
I totally know what you're talking about. That
it's just what is it?
It's
for my friends, everything.
For everyone else,
it's the law.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's not even the law. And so it's like I find,
it's the hypocrisy of how they handle things.
Yeah,
and it's very much the double standard effect, and I think that a lot of people are feeling that right now, where you have this situation of, the board acts in one way for Party A,
and the employees
when you have
of
the same exact situation,
yes,
they refuse to act, and it's like, okay, well, we have a problem with this, and that's one of the big fundamental things that a lot of people, And when Troy went and got after that competitor, who was a volunteer at the match. I mean, this isn't the first time Troy's ever done this. Troy did this to Tanpo Timmy. He did this to Zach Smith. There was the kid with the steel paint thing, which I think is I don't necessarily fault Troy for that, but it's still the point that you have these examples of DNROI, who is an employee of USPSA, harassing in violation of the company's harassment policy, and yet right now the board is essentially doing nothing. And it begs the question, why is it that we have a rule for Yi but not for Troy?
Well, this is my favorite thing is like the things that set people off have nothing to do with the rules. Stager, what rules did he break within the beeps? Derek, what rules did he break within the beeps?
And Tommy, you know what? You're right. And I told you that.
And
you're right. I
was the social media posts of like, this is why I'm going to come unglued on this guy because of his social media posts. It's like, no, this is just absolute, just like bullcrap. And the thing that it's so open ended, like we can remove people for any reason or any time, and it's just like, well, essentially they get removed because they're political dissidents of the people who are currently in power. And if you don't like criticism, don't run for fucking public office. How about that? You don't like the light. You don't like the shit thrown at you. I mean, the higher you are in the sport, the more people get after you. I mean, there's a Kenny's got a GM card. We automatically say that he doesn't paint or tape, even though that's not true, but it's fun to say. And so like you get along with that as soon as you run for an office. People say untrue things about you. People even say true things about you. And like we're just tossing these guys out. Like
well, and Tommy, I mean, and there's a balance there, right? I mean, because you can say things, but at a certain point you have to be held accountable for your actions. But at the same time, to your point that took me a long time to get to, what is that point? Like, what's the line? Show me the exact line that I can go all the way up to and touch, but I can't go over. And the problem is right now the board and the organization has functionally decided that board is now basically wherever we want it to be, and we're not going to tell you.
Well, the easy thing is in between at a match. If people's actions and behavior are so terrible, like Yeeman got disciplined for behaviors inside the match. We want McManus to be disciplined for behaviors inside the match. As far as what's outside of the match, like, please, especially if it's true.
Well, and that's the problem that we have here is, I mean, like, Troy went after a volunteer, somebody who took time out of their day and their week to go work this match because he didn't like something that somebody said. This is what's all been reported, right? That he didn't like what was being said. And so it's like, okay, well, how is that situation any different? I mean, you have two people who are in a position of power. You can go and read the board statement when they dismissed Yeeman, and you can be like, you know, we're gonna hold these people to the highest level, even if that means getting rid of somebody who may be popular. And that's the problem that you have in this whole situation, is that it's just this glaring hypocrisy. And here's the problem that I had when I wrote this letter. I wrote this letter to the board, and I only got one person, Scott Arnberg, who even responded back to me, which doesn't necessarily surprise me. But this is the interesting thing, and it's a question I asked. Because if we do something, if an RO does something, then you have this thing appeal. You have an RO, an instant report, and it goes to Troy McManus. But what do we do if it's Troy McManus that's doing it? Who's watching him? Who's watching the watchers? What systems do we have in place to stop DNRY from exercising unrighteous authority over everybody at the match? There's nobody that's stopping him. Even if you file an incident report right now on Troy McManus, which I understand has been done, who actually does it? It can't be the RMIs, because they're an interested party. It can't be the board of directors because they're an interested party. So what are they going to do? Like, they're either going to like just push this under the rug and pretend that it didn't happen and hope that everybody forgets about it, which, let's be honest, that's how we are. We'll just forget about it and go on to something else that we're mad about. Or are they going to hire like an outside agency to come in and be like a third party, a neutral third party?
No, because that would cost money. Kenny?
Hey, didn't Troy threaten to not let the guy finish the match as well?
Yes,
So not only can he not control his,
Allegedly.
so he can't
allegedly,
control
we'll
his
say that.
emotions. He also wants to abuse his power.
I mean,
I
it's
mean,
just
surprise, surprise. I've met him plenty of times. That Dylan, he's a piece of shit. But
Well, and that's the thing. In the history of USPSA, we've only had 2 DNRY. Maybe we're at a point
term
where
limits.
we should say, yeah.
Term limits. Can
mean,
we all
should
sing
we
the
be
song?
asking for that?
Yes.
Why should anybody have that much unchecked power?
Yes, make it 4 years. Everyone gets to serve 4 years in any position. More people can pop up and run. We'll see what happens. But like term limits is the best way to constantly move the decaying, festering rod of corruption out of the area. Like if you,
But
you
Tom, you don't understand. I'm important. I need to be
no
there.
one
So
else
I
can do
can't
this
have a
job.
term limit because
Nope.
nobody can do it because I'm the only one who can do it.
Yeah.
And other lies we've told each other.
But listen, like it's not like we have a history of getting rid of people when they have verbal confrontations at matches. Mike Foley. What?
Oh,
What?
yeah.
What? Oh, the board didn't like him. Oh. Okay.
Oh.
So let's just see. Like the majority of people, the board doesn't like get tossed from the sports once they get a certain amount of salais and political clout, and so we just toss them. Like we could possibly toss them in terms too. Like what the fuck does it matter? Because
Well, but
all we
now,
have to do is
now the organization doesn't even exist because they forgot to actually renew their business license.
like, and these are the people steering the ship. These are the people steering the ship. Now, we have some questions. We have some great questions. They'll probably touch on this stuff. Anything else besides we get to the questions that you guys want to bring up?
No.
You men's cracking the fortune cookie. It says silence is golden. All right,
Dude, it is funny,
Hey.
and I am not gonna say make people say what are their, but it's funny. Like everybody's like, well, what are the candidates? The candidates should speak up about this, and I'm like whether it's Ben Barry, Kyle Stevens, Emin, or Luigi, I'm like, what exactly do you want them to say?
what?
That's really bad. I don't know all of it, but that's really bad. And boy, we should no, they can't say anything. It's like, I mean, the only thing any of the candidates could say is it sounds like there's something happened. I hope that we have an open and transparent process, and I look forward to hearing the results. They can't say anything.
Well, the one thing it's just like
there's no value in it.
And this is why Robert is my propaganda minister.
there's just I think lines are clearly delineated now of what people will do when they're where. But here's the problem with USPSA, even with the cameo thing. Here's the thing: obey your own fucking rules.
It's
that.
a very novel concept,
Like,
Tom, and I
oh
don't
my
think
gosh.
these people do that.
Well, and it's just like, even if it hurts you, you still do what you're supposed to do. Duh. And on that note,
I'm just gonna say I miss matches at Cameo.
Oh,
It was a great place.
It is still a great place.
That'll never hold a major again.
Yeah.
At least until Colorado deals with its current set of rules. And we're trying really hard to set the precedent here in California. Thank you very much.
That actually is a good point. I mean, with all the legislative stuff after Bruin, it's not unheard of that Colorado gets a lot of its bans struck down.
Yeah, but once it's law, once it's actually law, then it's still the rules.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
I mean, the New Mexico governor just declared a state of an emergency, and so that now we don't have
all your
First
constitutional
Amendment
rights are
and
gone.
Apparently, there's a super hidden little clause on the back side of the Constitution and Bill of Rights that says if the governor declares an emergency, all bets are off. That's how this works.
Well, we spent
I didn't see that in civics.
we spent 2 years of people playing that game that they got to override things because of emergencies. It's like, no, that the rule books there are for the emergencies. Because when everything's great, you don't need it.
Mhm.
So like that's why the rules are there, in case you run into conflicts with state that have magazine capacity bans, so that you have something that universally would fall into. I understand it. Like, I do not like having people curtail their gear and curtail their limits, or like as anything else, curtailing the speech depending on what areas you're in. But once again, the USPSA rulebook is a volunteer, and you opt into it when you become a member, and when you opt into it when you shoot matches. And we should not be allowed to dictate the rules just because of that. And heaven forbid, go after people. Like, no matter who becomes president of USPSA, you have, especially in the current situation, you have I would say a moral duty to reinstate the people who got tossed for shit like this. Anyway, if you want to be reinstated, put on a Dominate Defense belt. You look better while you're doing it. Head on over there, get the Mach 1 speed belt, the best belt in the industry. I literally see about 80% of the people carry them. I'm wearing the shirt. I sleep in this thing. I roll out of bed. I go Costco shopping. Everything. It's a banger. Check out the clothes. Check out the equipment. The concealed carry belt, which I wore. I shot the entire match from concealment with the new Dominate Defense concealment belt. And with my T-Rex arms and my RMR Glock 17. And it is... I do not feel any less competitive with that setup than I do with an outside the waistband belt. And that's because they're both Dominate Defense belts. PARA10, save 10% off your order. Also, check out Rune Tactical, +1. Get a +1 in the gun. That's what I like to do. And I like to make sure that 145 power factor ammo is the first one in the chamber to cycle all those rounds. You know why I need that plus power? Because there's 24 rounds in the magazine.
You meant 115 power factor, right?
I made 140. I made 140 at state. Easy, buddy. Easy. And so that's what I do. 24 rounds in the gun.
Yeah. Tommy was like, "Hey, you guys are Secret Service, right? Yeah. Can I borrow a couple of your bullets?"
I beat their duty.
You know what I thought was weird, Tom? I was looking at practice score, and the scale wasn't working, so they were going off declared bullet weight, and you declared 220 grain bullets.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're this long. They're this long. They do 300 feet per second, but they are nice. It's like that 450 Bushmaster stuff they have. It's just like, what's,
and then
what's that bullet weight?
You did the Eric Steiner chrono where there was $20 in the bag when you handed it over to him.
No, you don't put it in the bag. You put it in the magwell. So when they put the empty magwell, it doesn't fit, and they're like, "Oh, what's this?" I was like, "That must be yours."
Oh, that's what you did.
Yep, that's what you do. You can also save $20. Make your order big enough, you can save $20 using PARA10 plus up your gun. Check it out, Rune Tactical. Also, you can make your gun heavier, plus up that weight. W74 guide rods use the same promo code. Fantastic products, also springs and stuff available. And Precision Holsters Fast Holster. If they make it for your gun, do yourself a favor, put it on there. You can get it with the boss hanger with screw adjustments for either one of your concealment needs or the Henning. Either thing you want to do, you can get basically one-stop shop.
This is going to be the real race, right? To see if Precision Holsters makes the left-handed holster before Leif actually gets me mine.
Well, since there's 6 of you, I don't think there's a high demand on either side of those companies to do it.
You just shut your mouth.
What is that?
It's not the point.
Left-handed shooter shooting a broken gun from the factory? Yeah, let's get on that. What is that? 700 Glock 17 orders. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Talk shit on Telegram. Robert's monitoring the Telegram. Ask questions, get answers.
From Dirk, how do you feel about your lifetime membership now? I'm still down with it. I don't really care. USPSA is always going to be around.
My lifetime membership I see as nothing more than the same cost as primers and bullets. That's how much investment I put into it. Now, have I become more active on the USPSA front now? Yeah. Like, just by thing of recent events, but I see it no more. Like, I find myself annoyed every year when it would come up of, you got to spend $40 to go shoot the match this weekend, and like that's the price you pay. But like, if I sit there and order 10,000 bullets, that's the price of competition. If I have to order the primers, that's also the price of competition. And look through your lives and all the equipment and stuff you have to buy for USPSA, and then follow that little line down the moral and ethical trail, and tell me when you run into a conflict with your own morals and values. See how far that goes. And please do it on your iPhone with the kids in Africa that are holding on to their little brothers and sisters as they're mining the lithium. Give me a break.
Oh, snap.
Somebody is salty today.
Moving on. Let's see. Robert, how's your Shadow 2 holding up? Are you still enjoying it? Yes, I love shooting that gun. It's one of my favorite guns that was ever manufactured.
He loves it so much.
He's yesterday.
I still love the gun. My shooting is an entirely different situation.
You know what was one of the funniest things that I sat there and saw is one of the shooters, Junior, was shooting a P10 and it just wasn't working. And to think 5 years ago that Robert would hand him one of his CZ Shadows, and that would be the most reliable gun you could hand somebody. When Robert was literally having like a stage fit every time with the CZ Shadow because his thumb was in the way, and no one figured it out till Kenny Terry figured
That
it
was
out.
a Shadow 2. Interestingly enough, the Shadows never had that problem. The Shadow 2s did.
Yeah, like so it was
just the difference in the way that the way the grip was. It was
yeah.
just a little bit
I
different.
was like, oh, we've come full circle. Like Robert's got the most reliable gun that you can hand to somebody, and then Junior starts splitting his 12 splits like he likes to. There's something scary. Like I just like when I start seeing guys like charge positions and start shooting 12 splits, it's like they're safe, they're competent. But like when I see that, like they gotta like have their finger in the trigger because they shoot so much faster than I when they move. They like get in position and just start splitting. Like what's going on?
No, I like it. It's a good gun. It's a good gun. Now I gotta talk amongst yourselves. I gotta keep scrolling to find all the. Here we go. From Connor Williams. Will we hear any comments from the presidential candidates or Area 6 candidates about DNROI's actions this weekend? No.
I direct all questions to my PR department. Robert, you can answer that question.
I hear they're best friends.
Yeah. That's how it always is. They yell at each other on Fox, and then they go out to dinner together.
It's like the cover of Empire Strikes Back. You know that they're friends because they're lightsabering duel on the cover, like with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Like they're like this close because they're this close on the poster. So they must be friends.
Fundamentally, the answer to that is what do you want them to say? I mean that's really. I mean, what is it you expect them to say? I mean, I'm not carrying the water for any one of them, but at the end of the day, there's nothing really they can say.
They have to.
We all. I mean, what are you gonna? I mean, Luigi gets on the air, goes to the in-person board meeting and says, "I don't know all the facts, but I'm mad as hell, and I want you guys to do some things right now. And if you don't, I'm gonna be extra mad when I get voted in." That doesn't work. It doesn't work for anything. I mean,
inside.
The only thing you can ever say is this happened, and the best thing we can do is to let this thing play out and hope that the organization takes the necessary steps to create a positive outcome. And as members, I would encourage you to write into your area directors, tell them your feelings about this, and keep the pressure on so that they actually do something. Because as a presidential or an area director candidate, all I can really do is tell you to reach out to your leadership and keep the pressure on them. That's really all you can say.
Well, the other thing is like we don't want people being thrown out for being inside the beep in the last shot and at the match. And when you run for office, you're always within the beep, so to say.
That's true. Andrew Roderick, who's going to review the RO incident report on Troy?
So, like, if we had the She-Men, like, if somebody had an incident report on a director or an RMI, who would review it?
Well, the RO discipline process, as it's currently written, basically says that if, depending on the severity of the incident, the director of NRI can basically appoint a committee staffed by RMIs to conduct an investigation of the situation. Precedence has already been set that the RMIs can make a recommendation
and then get completely overruled.
I don't know what you're talking about, Tommy, but I do believe that there is some evidence out there that essentially states that the director of NRI can still basically do whatever he wants. I mean, in this particular instance, I think what's important for everybody to understand is that, the director of NRI is a full-time paid employee of the organization. If you look at the bylaws under 16.1, the director of NRI reports directly to the board of directors. And at the same time, if you look at the bylaws laying out the job description for the managing director, it also states that the managing director is responsible for all HR issues. So I think this year has very much been a series of unprecedented circumstances. So, there's a little bit of a conflict there where, technically the managing director would be handling something if this would be considered an HR employee issue. But at the same time, the director of NRI does not report to the managing director. Director of NRI reports to the board of directors. So how the organization decides to unravel that knot, so to speak. We'll see what happens in the next couple weeks.
Because the conflict is not with another employee of USPSA, but with a volunteer.
Right. Well, the conflict in this particular instance is,
an employee is harassing a volunteer allegedly.
So the employee, yeah. So you could probably parse that either way of what you would want to do.
Right.
One of the biggest challenges about this whole situation, whether it's Troy or the lawsuit, is the propensity of the organization when they have these situations to essentially go quiet. They go to ground and they stop talking. And that doesn't serve anybody's interest.
I wish this company went to ground. All they do is leak stuff to all their friends all the time, and it's just like to ground.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Tommy, is they. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's all the leaking that's happening by Leighton, but at the end of the day, I mean, the organization, they have choices to make. They don't have to come out and say we have an opinion on the Troy situation or we have an opinion on the legal thing. But it is in their best interest to at least come out and say, we realize this thing came out this weekend. We're going to look into this thing. Understand that this is an employee issue, and per employee policies from within USPSA, we can't comment on that. And at least most people, if the organization were to simply put out something to say, hey, we recognize this is happening. Here's how we're going to try and act on that, but we can't really say this, that, or the other. Most people are going to be like, okay, thanks for at least letting us know. But in the absence of that, inevitably the loudest voice in the room wins. And so if PSI puts out some information, then people are going to naturally gravitate towards that because you don't have anybody on the opposite side saying, I know this information's out there, but it becomes just this echo chamber of only one side arguing.
There's a reason why you do that. Kenny, tell Vanessa you're making dinner. And then don't make dinner.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
She'll be very upset.
But if you tell her you're going to make dinner, she's going to expect you to do what?
Make dinner.
So if you tell people you're going to look into this, they're going to expect that you look into it.
Well, naturally. And I agree with you, Tommy. You're totally right.
So don't say shit. Okay. Don't address it. Don't do anything. We'll just let it go. And hopefully,
that's the problem. Is the organization.
Yeah.
I know, Tommy, but that's the problem. Is if they don't say anything, then they're just hoping that people forget about it. But the problem is by not saying anything, continuously not communicating with the membership, the organization has created this culture where the appearance is that they are tone deaf to the concerns of the membership. And it's only when the members actually finally get mad enough that they finally start writing in and emailing and calling and being like, hey guys, this fee thing is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
That the organization's like, oh crap, these guys have pitchforks and they know where we live. And then they do something. It should never be that way. It should never get to the point where the organization is having to react because of the stupidity of the things the organization in the first place. They should be talking. They should be transparent. Tell the people what's going on, and you mitigate 90% of these problems. But they don't want to do that.
No, they don't want to do that.
And that's one of the biggest failures of the organization.
Well, even area directors that we like, and let's say like the presidents and stuff like that, are so easily removed that they wish not to full out engage in a lot of the stuff, so then we have nothing but leaks because no one wants to get tossed, because being tossed is simply just a matter of what the majority thinks should go.
When the area directors decided that nobody was going to talk to Joe Rutkowski, now all the area directors are being sued individually.
Yep.
How did that serve anybody? How is that good for anybody? I'm certain that the area directors are like, well, we don't really want to have to deal with this. It puts a chilling effect on anybody wanting to run for the area directorship, because now you have the potential of being sued personally, and the org is not going to protect you. You're basically, your butt's hanging out in the wind. The org's going to get their wonderful Alabama, drive-by lawyer, and he's going to tell them to do whatever he's going to do. But all the area directors are like, well, shit, we're out of luck. I know. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully the org's like, yeah, we'll support you guys in this lawsuit. But that's not traditionally how it goes.
Well, it's weird if you're like If you could be like open and honest and obey the rules, like the lawsuit probably wouldn't hurt that much. Anyway, next question.
Next question from our good friend Sebastian Munoz. California is about to impose an 11% excise tax on ammo, guns, and precursor parts. What are some good states to move to? Looking for more freedom, cheaper housing, and employment opportunities for a project engineer. No bias towards Utah. Good. Utah's closed.
Yeah.
Stay away from
No
Utah.
more, no more room.
It's too expensive anyway.
Utah sucks. Terrible
Yeah.
state to live.
Oh,
You
What,
don't
do-
wanna
what do you
come
want? What do you want to for a single guy coming out here with all these young, virtuous women? Nah, you want to hit the streets with them loose floozies. That's where you want to hit the streets with. Go somewhere else. You know,
here.
Yemen,
Florida's great. Go there.
you're from California, and I imagine if you could leave, you've already probably scouted that out, and you were in the Corps. So, like, what's the top three? Where's Yemen go if he's got to go?
If you say Utah, I'm kicking you off this call.
No, you don't want to.
Tennessee's actually been relatively popular. The Nashville area has been growing, by leaps and bounds. They're fairly corporate friendly. I mean, most people leaving from California, that's generally where they're going. They're going to Tennessee, Texas. I mean, the freedom stuff is nice, but there's always the consideration of, what are some of the things that we're used to in California that might be a surprise? I mean, one example would be, yeah, sure, Utah's great, but then you're like, wait, it gets really cold in winter, it snows, it gets really hot, during the summertime.
That's how we keep them out.
Well, clearly you have
It's called
Robert,
a
because you're
litmus
still getting
test.
people there.
I know that's the thing that kills me is every time a Californian says, "Hey, I'm looking to move out," it's basically like going to the doctor and they're saying, "Hey, take your pick. Where do you want the cancer?"
Well, it's just like I would just like if I had to go, I'd just go to northern Florida. Like I would just go to North Florida. I would just
Property rates in northern Florida would probably be good right now after the hurricane.
like good state, good governance, good gun laws, decent USPSA community, international airport within pretty good driving range that I could go anywhere. And everything's a little bit more condensed on the East Coast, so like major matches would be a lot easier to drive through. Beautiful scenery out there. Like I could get down with Northern Florida. No state tax, no state income tax. So I
You
would
could go to Alaska. I mean, I hear they don't have a lot of taxes.
Yeah, but man, when someone
It's
tries to
cold
kill you,
AF.
when someone tries to kill you in Alaska, you better kill them because there's no backup. Literally, how many murders I hear about a guy going on like a 3 or 4 like killing spree before like the state troopers are called, the special state trooper response teams called in, and they're just following the bodies. So
well, to be fair, in Alaska, the guy's got to travel like 100 miles to get to the next house.
Oh,
Yep,
man.
I killed this guy. All right, let me get in my car and drive like another 100 miles to kill someone else.
the problem with the people who flee to Alaska, let's see, like the Adam Carolla joke. If you go into a bar in Alaska and yell ATF, 9 people will jump out of the window to get away. or FBI, like they'll escape. They'll like everyone's like they're here for me. Everyone runs out the door like cockroaches. So just be careful. Any other questions on this long ass show?
Yeah, really quick. Hello, I'm Canada, and Trudeau made all of my AR-15, AR-10s such prohibitive to own. I'd like to build a bolt action. It's kind of hard to find a Remington 700 action only here. We have 2 major options. I don't know how to say this, so it would be CADX and Deadline. Can you all explain if and why I want to spend more than double the price for a boutique 700 action?
Kenny?
Tough. Yeah, I don't shoot a 700, so I don't know because I can't convince myself why to spend the money on one.
So what action do you shoot off of?
Savage.
So have you ever heard of, is it CADX, KDX? I don't know.
Never heard of either. I've heard of the KDX, CADEX.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of them, but I don't. It's got to be the machining and the bolts. I mean, that's like the trigger's the same trigger on all 700s, but just the bolt and machining's got to be nicer.
Any advantages to shooting something like the Savage?
No, I mean the Savage is a worse action all the way around, but it's a fifth the price. Like if you can afford a 700, you can get them in pre-fit barrels and everything. The triggers are phenomenal. The actions are great, but I mean, Like some of those actions cost more than my whole damn PRS rig.
Wow.
I was
Wow.
looking.
I mean, I think ultimately that's just a really difficult question to answer. I mean, because Canada has very unique restrictions that I don't think any of us can, really speak intelligently to. I mean, in a sense, you're kind of like you're a captive audience. I mean, in the same way that everybody says, "Hey, I want to shoot anything other than USPSA," and it's like, okay, well, what else are you going to shoot?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I know in IC900s, like the bolt throw is different, the really smooth. So I mean, if you don't care about bolt and don't care about trigger, then go different action.
Well, the other
So
thing
really,
too,
the question is that they should be asking is, "Hi, I'm from Canada. How do we overthrow Trudeau?"
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
yeah, it's
Okay.
move.
Just saying. I mean, America did it once.
I was
We
just
we
looking
got
at
rid of a tyrant.
fighting bolt actions because my son's kind of into this with like the Enfield Mark III Star and the Enfield Mark IV and Mark V, and I was just kind of looking at like, and then I found videos on like the Mauser actions, especially from like the K98, and I'm just like, that is a pretty ingenious action, and that everyone sat there and copied. And I saw that Mauser is still producing a lot of nice rifles, but like some of the things that were kind of interesting about like the stripper clips, like if it's going to replace an AR-15 or something like that as some sort of a quote unquote fighting rifle, when men were men and need to be put down by 8mm bullets. One of the things that like put in the 5, the bolt automatically removes the stripper clip that comes out. It has a cutout for your thumb, so your thumb can all the way go across. And for left-handers, that cutout actually places their thumb so they can push them in there. Safeties are very easily run, and they're some of the smoothest and nicest fighting the action guns you can get. But like the Enfield was kind of a copy off of those, and like a gun that you can take 2 stripper clips and stuff off with 10 rounds of 303 Brit, like that will hold a hallway. And I always think like the best thing that if you could, that was still in the restricted states, it's still a very viable weapon, are pump action shotguns with slugs. Put a dot on a pump action shotgun with slugs. If the situation dictates it and you can put buckshot through that thing, buckshot is still one of the scariest things on the planet because you don't have to be as good, and people get 33 caliber holes poked into them, and it takes one magic BB to hit someplace pretty soft, and 33 caliber is just enough to poke a hole in anything that's vital. And so I would stay away from that. Like anything that you sit there, they saw that they banned after World War One. There's a tip. Like
They banned mustard gas. What are you gonna do? Chuck that out the window?
highly effective, highly effective, like trench guns and stuff like that. Like so,
Don't get me wrong. I want to like call in an arc light attack as much as the next guy, but for some reason people are kind of like antsy about that sort of thing.
Yeah, I like besides like the AR-15, I still think the 12 gauge shotgun is probably one of the most versatile. Go in there, you could always keep the dang thing fed. Even in restricted places, you can keep the thing fed. Slugs are still pretty prevalent. I mean, you have to deal with the recoil, but there's lots of options to get lights and micro red dots on the things. And there's no place you can't take a 12 gauge pump action shotgun. And there's nothing in North America it can't F up.
I don't know. That guy at the airport was pretty pissed when I took mine in there.
Well, you don't Sarah Connor the action and say, "Hey, TSA, I got it for you."
That was it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. And yeah, the right one still hurts by the end of the show. Thanks for listening, subscribing, and downloading. We appreciate all that you guys do. Make sure that you guys put in your vote for the USPSA presidential election in the Area 6 runoff there, and do all the best you can. And we can turn this sport around because there ain't nothing wrong with the sport except for the majority of the people that sit on the board of directors.
That's
And-
Tom's life membership talking there.
That's well.
Mhm.
Listen, if it sinks in 7 years, then I got all the money I want out of it. And if it doesn't sink, then I get to make better decisions with my money. So what can you do? It's a win-win, as they say. So thanks for doing all that stuff for you guys. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. We love seeing you at matches. We appreciate all the comments. Head over to Telegram. Download Telegram. It's a fantastic app. Search PARAcast. You get nothing on that app that you don't want. So do it. It's a self-sorting process. And come join us over there. All right, for Robert Wyatt, Kenny Terry, Yi Min Lin. I'm Tom Nelson, meeting you peace, love, and souls. We depart into the open waters of the sea of life on a little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast.
Good night, everybody.
Toot toot.
For the Empire.